Thank you. We'll now call to order the Marin Wildfire Executive Committee regular meeting of March 6th, and roll call, please.
Absolutely. Starting first with Director Goings,
Here.
Director Rodoni,
Here.
Director McMillan,
Here.
Director Hilliard, Director Kurtz.
Here. Thank you. Any adjustments to today's agenda? Seeing none, we'll go to open time for public expression. Public is welcome to address the executive committee at this time on matters not on the agenda that are within the jurisdiction of the committee. Do we have any public comment?
There are no hands at this time.
Great, thank you. And we'll hand it over to Executive Director Mark Brown.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our meeting. And a few things going along at the state level. One of them is the recent release of the fire hazard severity maps for the local responsibility areas. Chief Weber and I are still discussing how we can engage with the state of California on the observations that we have for the maps. Quite frankly, I think the LRA maps are underreporting to the hazards that we have in Marin County. And when I dug into the methodologies that were used, two words struck me with the methodologies. One of them was they simplified the fuel models, and then they averaged the weather. And so when you look at what we are doing in Marin, we have very precise fuel data, so we aren't simplifying the fuel data, number one. Number two, we're not using average weather conditions. And the reason why we aren't is because urban conflagrations do not occur under average conditions. They occur under extreme conditions. So we feel that we should be modeling on extreme conditions. And these aren't made up conditions. The two weather models that we use are actual events that have happened in Marin. We are using that precise weather data. So I look at the LRA maps that CAL FIRE pushed out as a baseline. And then our more detailed modeling can help our local agencies create ordinances and guidelines that meet that more precise data. Another thing I noticed when I was looking at the models, both for the state responsibility area maps and the local responsibility area maps, I think the CAL FIRE models are really underreporting in the built environment. I look at Kent Woodlands. Kent Woodlands is in the SRA and was listed as moderate severity. And I think it's because the models are not dealing with the structures in the right way. And so that's why we've been partnering with the University of Colorado and University of Berkeley to have fire propagation models through the built environment. So I believe that we'll be able to provide more precise modeling to our local agencies when they start moving forward with Zone 0 ordinances. And I know there's going to be some conflict and challenging conversations with our public because of that. On a really great note, U.S. Fire Administration is a couple doors down right now in our Emergency Operations Center with one of the 3 nationwide tabletop evacuation exercises that they are hosting. Today is day 2. And it's been an awesome opportunity for all of our public safety entities to come together and go through a very complicated evacuation scenario. U.S. Fire Administration is doing these evacuation tabletops for a couple of reasons. One of them is that they're working on a nationwide guidance on how to create effective evacuation plans. And so they have people in the back of the room that are picking apart everything our plans have, taking the good stuff out of our plans so that they can be shared across the nation. Excuse me. But also we're identifying, by doing this complicated tabletop, we are identifying places where we can improve. So our plans are getting better because of it. Excuse me. One thing I noticed yesterday, before the fire started in the exercise, all the public agencies were able to talk about the level of preparedness that they go into prior to a red flag event. And I think that's a gap in our messaging that we have going on right now. So I want to work with Chief Weber, the sheriff, OEM, and Fire Safe Marin to create a short video so our public can understand exactly the level of preparedness that's happening during red flag events. And then we have the governor's executive order creating some exemptions to CEQA and the Coastal Commission. And we're getting a lot of questions of how is Marin Wildfire going to react? And thank you. And great team here, right? How is Marin Wildfire going to react, and what are we suggesting as guidance to our member agencies? And Anne has led a couple of meetings already with our environmental consultants as well as our environmental legal counsel. And we're coming up with some very simple guidance. We're going to have a brief paragraph on what our guidance is on our website. But one of the things that I want to touch on is go back to our mission statement. Our mission statement is Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority leads the development of fire-adapted communities using scientific, financial, programmatic, ecological practices, vegetation management, community education, evacuation warning systems to support its members and partner agencies. So when I look at these exemptions, two words come to mind for me: process and requirements. And so we have worked hard to create trust with our environmental community. And that's by adhering to the requirements of CEQA. So we will continue to adhere to the requirements. We will continue to follow our project design implementation features and the best management practices. But where we might exercise the exemptions is to speed up the process so that we can be more efficient, get projects going faster, and be more efficient with our resources to get those projects going, but while still adhering to the requirements. And that way we can get work done faster, which is the purpose of the executive order, but we can still do it in an ecological way to maintain the trust that we've developed with our environmental stakeholders. Marin Wildfire has been asked to participate in the Wildfire Science and Technology Commons. I was asked to be on the Emerging Opportunities Committee. And so the whole idea is behind the Wildfire Science and Technology Commons is a single place everybody can go to access these types of technologies and the science that's in there. It's also, when we talked about some of the insurance solutions, this is where a lot of the community level mitigation data could be stored that the insurance industry would have access to when they start modeling for decisions to insure here in California. So an exciting opportunity for Marin. And they're also asking for, they're calling them Pathfinder examples. And so we're going to offer a couple of our projects that we have a very robust and solid science and data-driven process to create and then implement the projects. We're going to offer those as examples for Pathfinders for other communities to follow that path. And then finally, just one last reminder, maybe you'll have one more at the board meeting, but we have the Climate and Wildfire Institute, March 25th and 26th. We have our keynote speaker, Daniel Swain, starting at 4:30 for the reception. Daniel will start speaking at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, the 26th. 27th is the task force meeting, where there will be 4 distinct panel discussions. I think you will find all of them interesting. And then Friday is our site visits, where there will be site visits throughout Sonoma and Marin County for people to attend. And with that, I'll take questions.
Questions, please. Julie?
I think that's great about how you all are going to continue to abide by CEQA. I'm just wondering how you're going to inform the environmental groups that we're not really changing course.
Yeah, many of the stakeholders, or all of the stakeholders that we've been meeting regularly, will be getting an email from me in short order, actually inviting them to another time to just discuss it and make sure that we're having a dialogue and I'm answering all of their questions and sharing with them what our approach is going to be. And then we're going to be talking about it at the ATC and in other forums as well.
Catherine, did I see that you had your?
Mark, going back, when you were analyzing the maps, you said they averaged the weather data. You said they simplified. What did they simplify?
The fuels data.
Fuels data. Oh, thank you so much. And you just answered the other question, which was how to speed up the process without killing ourselves.
Other questions? Bruce?
Yeah, yesterday with the Wildfire Protection District, I sat down with a review of the of the maps, and the actual presentation. I read your statement in the paper about averaging and this current statement. Their PowerPoint does not state that. That's what's confounding to me. And I looked at the maps, and I'm a little surprised as to how some of our fuels are being characterized. I'm in agreement, understanding how we model two different events and that are likely. Those are the things that we're fearful of and that are inevitable. Our board struggled with, and I got up and I asked them to go back to an image that showed fire history in Marin County, one of the largest of which was in 1923, which ran from Highway 101 out to the Pacific Ocean, the big fire line out there. And as a forester, the condition and the terrain and the fuels of which I said inevitably when it burns, it's going to rip, it's going to burn. And so we talked about, what would we do if we wanted to change something? What data would we use? And frankly, we couldn't come up with anything. And I mean, referring to what we're doing is the best. And we have this discussion that MWPA is doing everything we think that we can to mitigate strategically where we can. But I mean, how would you advise us as members in interacting with our boards who have to approve this before it goes to the city? What course would we take if we felt that there was something that is understated in the maps? And I'm sorry for the question. It's just, I've struggled with this yesterday, Mark, and I know you and I can talk about this stuff, but that's my question. What course would we take?
As I mentioned, I consider these maps a baseline. And then we come in behind with our more precise modeling and create our own hazard ratings for those areas, and then be prepared to defend the science behind those ratings as we work with our communities.
Okay, so that message I think is very clear and concise and actionable. So I know this meeting is being recorded, but again, I struggled yesterday. Our board struggled, and I think that's great advice from you. That's great advice. Thank you.
And is that modeling overlay to enhance what their baseline, is that going to be done before the maps need to be approved, or that's something that will be done in conjunction with the new stricter zone zero ordinances down the road?
More than likely the latter.
Other questions, comments? I just wanted to say Bruce, I've been also struggling with the maps and the language, and I'm not sure where I picked it up from. It wasn't just from me, but somebody had suggested that the maps are around hazards, right? And identifying where hazards, and a hazard is something that we can't necessarily change, like the cliff at the ocean side, right? That is a hazard, but what we can do is do the mitigation around the risk. And so these were not necessarily risk maps, because what the work that we're all doing is around the risk and really addressing the risk and how do we mitigate the risk. The hazard is the hazard. Mount Tam is a hazard. The cliff at the ocean is a hazard. Whatever it is a hazard. And so I've been trying to sort of not necessarily downplay the maps. It is one piece of the puzzle. But it's really our focus is around risk, which is where we can actually do work to mitigate that risk.
Totally agree.
Great, thank you. All right, moving on. We're going on to the consent calendar. We only have one item, which are the minutes from the February 6th meeting. We'll open up to public comment if there's any.
There are no hands at this time.
Great. Also, any public comment, sorry, on the director's report, if there was.
We do not have any hands raised, and I don't believe any were up at that time.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, consent calendar?
I'll move to approve. Go ahead, Catherine.
Sorry, move to approve consent calendar.
Second.
Great. First and second, all in favor? Great, thank you. All right, action items. We are moving on to the proposed revisions of the Board of Directors bylaws. And I think, Mark, you have this.
Yeah, you bet. And, as an organization that started 5 years ago and is maturing, it's time to look at our bylaws, especially since we updated the JPA. So there needed to be some alignment between some of the changes in the JPA, what was in the bylaws. And we formed an ad hoc subcommittee, which included Bruce Goins, Catherine Way, Claire Molesworth, myself, and Megan. Megan and I made some original recommendations to the ad hoc subcommittee, sent it to the ad hoc subcommittee. They had a chance to review it, and then we went line by line with it and had some great feedback, came to consensus to what it should look like, and it's included in the exec committee packet today. If there's questions, I'm prepared to do a screen share, or if you guys are happy with the way it is, we can move on.
I'm happy too.
Good, I'm seeing consensus that everyone's good. Yes?
Thank you for doing all that.
Yeah, and the intent would be for this to be on the consent calendar at the board meeting.
Great. It's good housekeeping, just to always do that.
Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. All right, so with that, any public comment?
I see no hands at this time.
No, thank you. All right, and we can take a motion.
Motion that we adopt the bylaws.
Second.
Okay,
And
versus-
just for clarification, it would be that the board adopt the bylaws, just that you're supporting a recommendation that they adopt them at the board.
thank you. All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Moving on to the next item, Marin Wildfire General Counsel Services.
You bet. And I'll just start off by talking about the relationship that Megan and Marin Wildfire have been able to develop. As you know, Megan actually came on board to the Marin Wildfire as our counsel before I was hired. I remember sitting through the meetings as a curious observer as the different firms were competing to be counsel for Marin Wildfire. And Megan has just been an incredible partner for us. Her availability is phenomenal. Her insight is very valued. And another thing I appreciate is that when she knows that she's not the right attorney to levy an opinion, she has resources to tap into, whether it's her informal network or some of the formal relationships that we have with other law firms, and she works very, very well. Her current firm is kind of moving away from public law and getting outside of that realm. And Megan and Emily were like the last two standing attorneys that were in public law. And we were going to see a market increase in our rates if Megan and Emily did not create their own firm. And by Megan and Emily separating and they've been doing this with, it's not some coup that they have been doing. They've been doing it in conjunction with Rob. And in agreement that this would be the best path, and this will allow us to keep our rates at the same level that we've been paying. And with that, I'll pass it off to Megan.
Thank you, Mark. I don't have a ton to add. I think that hopefully from your perspective and the board's perspective and staff's perspective, not much will change day to day. We have been working about 12 years ago when Rob Epstein started his own firm. I think he hired me and Emily right away as his public law folks, and then his firm subsequently sort of took off into a very litigation-focused practice, primarily on wills and trust litigation. And that practice grew with a lot of private clients, quite different from what we do. And so he obviously is still a city attorney for San Rafael, so I still talk to him and consult with him on things, but really the other part of the practice is very distant from ours, from mine and Emily's. And so there's a fully functional firm there with paralegals and all these folks that are doing litigation all the time, and that's just not what we do. And so they have quite a bit higher overhead than we do. And we also just want to represent public clients. We don't have an interest in doing any private stuff. So Rob is going of counsel at his firm, and so that sort of was the incentive for us to think about forming our own. So we did. Now we actually have it all on paper and official. So we would really welcome the opportunity to continue working with you. And as Mark said, when we do have something that falls outside of our expertise, we're not shy about reaching out to knowledgeable people about it, and have had a lot of luck working with Sabrina Teller for the environmental piece, and seeking labor counsel if we needed it, that kind of thing. But for day to day and for the relationships that we get to form from being part of this team, I feel like we're really well suited for that, and really appreciate the chance to do this work. So I hope we can stick with you guys. But I'm happy to take questions.
Any questions? Seeing none. Okay. Any questions from the public?
There are no hands at this time.
Great, thank you. Bring it back. Discussion or a motion, please.
I just wanted to say, Megan, I think you've done a tremendous job, and I think you've helped steer the agency from startup to where we are now. And you've helped us avoid, potential litigation and claims. And so thank you for all your work. And I look forward to continuing the relationship.
Other comments?
I'd like to move that we contract Azevedo and Longfellow as our new
Great, thank you. Is there-
counsel.
Yeah.
Second.
Second by Julie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Megan, we're really excited. Thank you. Really appreciate it. All right. We are moving on to the agenda review for the draft agenda for March.
It's pretty basic, but I do notice, I just now noticed a couple of omissions. We will be having a finance committee coming up meeting soon that will be approving our budget framework, which will also be inclusive of a CPI increase, which won't come out until March 12th. And so just so you guys know, and we'll bring this up at finance committee, it's been running at 2.4%, but we've decided to be a little bit conservative, and we're budgeting it, expecting a 2%. And then that way, if it comes in higher, then we can adjust up rather than adjust down. So anticipate to see that in the consent calendar. And then we, under information items, we're super excited to bring forward a presentation that the Ops Committee received a month ago, and that is our science and data-driven approach. And I'm going to quote Chief Tyler. After he saw that, he just said, simply, wow. I think you guys are going to be amazed with the suite of science and data tools that we have. And so we'll give you a preview, or not a preview, but a dive into how we're using those tools.
Right. Very good.
Question for clarification. Mark, then did you say that you'd be adding a presentation on the status of science? That was the question. This is a suggested agenda item that I would be asking for, but this is what
Yeah,
you're going to give us an update.
we're already planning on doing that.
Okay, thank you. So I won't ask the question.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. Any other comments? Any public comment?
There are no hands at this time.
Great, thank you. No motion is required. Sounds good. Any other future agenda items? Nope, not seeing any. All right. Sorry, that's a speed meeting. Okay, we are adjourned. And we are adjourned.
Less than half
10,
an hour.
10:27. Thank you all.
Look at our last minutes and we adjourned it.